Remix. 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 Remix.
Oh, yeah! Happy 6 de Mayo! Welcome to the Remix Morning Show! Right here on Black Liberation Media. In case you didn't know, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Here to bring you that boom bop breakfast. Yes, it's us representing each and every day right here on Black Liberation Media. Now, let me introduce you to your hosts that are not here yet. Now, they be here in a minute. Big up everybody tuning in as we rock out another beautiful, what is this? May the 6th. May the 6th be with you. You know what I'm saying? We're going to rock out, but you know how we do. They come in late so I can do a mix. Knowing them. Big up to all people in the chat room coming through. You know what I'm saying? Hope y'all had a great weekend, ready for a great week. That said, let's get into it. All right, getting y'all started, getting y'all pumped up and amped up for the day. Let me introduce you to no other than Kamal K. Franklin.
What's up?
What's good? What's good?
I'm chilling, man. How you feeling?
All right, you know what I'm saying? Had to start it off, get the crowd ready for y'all to come on stage.
Y'all, you mean me? Where's everybody at? I don't see nobody else there but me. You know what I'm saying?
Kim Brown is here in the background, you know, getting it together, I guess.
What happened to our girl, Rasheem? She taking another break?
Emails were sent. I don't. It's hard. It's hard.
I can't carry everything on my back. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I feel.
I can't just take. I can't. You know what I'm saying?
That's how I feel. But good thing
my back is only so broad. It's it's like a V. You know, it's like a V. Of course, it's like a wide V. I'm just saying.
I was about to say, speaking of big backs, but nah. Big up to We got the little Kim.
Yeah.
Nigga, you ain't even seen me. How you gonna talk about big backs?
That's what the young kids say. They call them big bags.
Is that their synonym for fat?
Yeah.
Big backs. I'll take it.
Fat or ass?
No, big back. No, that's
Yeah.
back. That means you're big.
Big back, wide back.
Oh,
Yeah.
what? How do you, that's
Kamau narrow ass would know nothing about it.
Yeah.
Seriously,
this-
Kamau, what's your waist size? 32?
actually that's correct.
How'd I guess?
Damn.
That is actually very correct.
See, look at all my years of objectifying men.
You know they size.
You
I
about
was like,
32,
what? That is
34?
extremely accurate. That is accurate.
Oh my goodness! Wow, look at that. You know,
Yeah.
I
But my
rock my.
chest is like 42.
Your chest?
The chest 42.
He gets chest? 42?
My chest 42.
Yeah, he claiming he got it.
You
maybe
get might have
48.
some 42 C's
Maybe
out there,
40,
Joan.
40.
You know what I'm
He's
saying?
not objectifying your wife. She's
She's a
beautiful.
C's. No. She probably right. She probably C's. I think so.
Hmm.
Does
You
that
don't
make-
know? You don't ever buy any lingerie?
No.
Oh, okay.
Look at Kamau. Does Kamau strike you as a lingerie buying kind of guy? Kamau, like, what? It took you a nice dinner. We had good dessert. What?
Oh wow, that's exactly that's very accurate.
What you want a gift?
That is extremely
Children.
You want a gift now?
I gave you the son, the daughter.
One of my periods in life. Yeah, it's just like what more? You want more? There's more. What?
I gave you the sun, the moon, the mountains.
You got to go get the lingerie. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I ain't
Oh,
never.
wow.
I ain't big
You
on
should
that, Victoria.
surprise Eget with an amazing romantic gift, as it were. Just knock her socks off. Go to La Pearl. Go to get her some nice shit.
You said La Pearl? What is that?
That's
What is
nice
it?
shit.
Oh, see,
That ain't
how-
Victoria.
What?
Mm-mm.
That's not Victoria's.
It's La Perla. Is it Pearla? Chat? Do I have that right for all the you bougies in there? Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Okay. I'm gonna have to get up on that. Find somebody. Find somebody to give it to. Anyway,
Could be like
And not-
doesn't Drake the stockpile Hermes bags in his house talking about that this is for his future wife. Nigga, just say you like purses. It's okay.
you got a merce?
What's the
Come
merch?
out.
You got a man purse? Come on.
No, I don't do that.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, you don't take it. Even though you was called one time a metrosexual.
There you go. I feel like I almost qualified at one point. I tried to be dapper at one point in my life.
Ear doctor still sniggling at metrosexual mulattoes as I
Yes,
am.
that was exactly. I knew there was more too. I was like, it wasn't
That
just
was a good
metrosexual. It was a metrosexual mulatto, I think. It was funny. I have to admit, it was funny.
Listen, even when one of your enemies land one, you gotta acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, that was a good one. That shit was funny.
Yeah, but I use that on somebody else's. I can twist it around.
How was your weekend?
Yeah, I got to do promotions. Can I do some promotional output here?
Go ahead,
Okay,
lead it off.
So I've been told I'm bad at promotions. All right, so let me get this. So I wrote a new article. I don't think it's all that new anymore. It's like a week old, but I haven't been promoting. Hammer and Hope. The newest issue of Hammer and Hope, for those who know, it's a Black Left online zine. We were asked, several contributors were asked to write about sort of the post 2020 atmosphere, what's happening in post 2020. Specifically, I was asked about post what happened with movements. So I wrote articles like, where is the Black Left now? Other contributors you can see on the side: Dr. CBS, Mary Hooks, the Trod Jackson, Sandra Nurse, several others. So I'm gonna drop it in the chat. Please read. This is my view of like where the left went wrong, particularly the Black left, where our errors are, what we need to do to correct it. Some of it you probably already know because you've believed the same thing and or listened to it here. which is that we've become too connected to and pawns of the Democratic Party, and we need to break away from that. So that's one thing. That's one. That's
Okay.
one. I'm still
Okay.
promoting. All right.
Keep
So
going.
the book is dropped.
Whoa! Let's put that up on a big screen there.
Let me see.
There you go.
Kamal Franklin. I'll cover up the other names. They're not as important.
What a hater.
I'm the only one you love. I'm the only one you love. Kamal Franklin with Mariah Parker and Micah Herxkind. I can never do his last name. So this book is about, it's a collection of essays from the people who participated very deeply in the Stop Cop City movement in Atlanta, everybody from the environmentalist sphere, folks who did the referendum, the anarchist groups, people who are doing base building and so forth. And I am coming to Baltimore. I think it's called Red Emma's.
Whoa.
To promote the book. It is coming up soon. I forgot which date, but it's coming up in the next 2 weeks. So I'll re-promote that.
Wonderful.
Say it again.
I said that's an excellent job of promotion, not knowing the date.
Coming to a Baltimore.
He was so ready too.
I'm gonna be out there, just stop by every day.
Wait for me, no time.
He'll be there. I'll be there someday. I'll be outside. I have a little can. I have a pack of books. They sent me like about 12 books, so I got to do something. So very, so good book with a lot of, the most important thing about a book like this is, I think, to hear about some of the ways and tactics and strategies that were used. There's an excellent essay by Ashley Dixon, who talks a lot about base building. That's the one that I think is the best one in here, in my humble opinion. But a lot of them are great and fantastic. So pick that book up. Haymarket Books, Amazon. People don't like to buy Amazon, but whatever. Like, get it from where you can get it, yo. I might drop a chat. I'll drop a chat thing, a link.
Yeah. Y'all know y'all still going to Amazon. Stop playing.
You can't do that no more? You can't do that?
No, people still going. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I must admit, I failed on that.
Yeah.
Every 3 seconds, it's like Amazon.
Always.
It's almost like I don't trust any other online thing. Like, I get her shaking her head in the background.
It's like, damn, you done told everybody I see.
He's like, well, he's calling me a loser, basically.
You cannot be revolutionary with Amazon boxes showing up daily now.
Daily. They show up daily. I was like, easy. You sit on the couch, you press a button. It's the world of the day.
It's too much to go outside and do
I know. See the fresh air, the sun.
Who needs that?
Interact with people.
Who needs vitamin D? We're trying to stay mulattoes over here.
Whoa.
Heterosexual mulattoes, yes.
How was your weekend, ear doctor? I'm sure you were out spinning up, wheeling it up.
Well, let me start it off like this. So, got to rock out. Let me see. Here we go. Got to rock out at the Let Us Make Man event Thursday night, and got to get scholarships for over almost 100 black boys, and about 4 black girls, and we had a guest performance.
That's an interesting ratio. You said 100 black boys and 4 black girls.
Yeah, because it's Let Us Make Man. It's a conference. It's an organization for helping boys out, but we also was like, we got to reach out and make sure these sisters get some also. So we had Q from 112 come perform, pulled up. You see the nice little banquet hall and everybody looking beautifully black. Give it a try. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Is that how he sounded singing Cupid?
You don't know unless you give it a try. You bad. So that, and then I went to Alabama for a funeral.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Pictures?
Yeah, it was.
You got pictures?
I found out that I have. Let me tell you about Alabama, man. Birmingham. I had a cousin by marriage by the name of Phuket.
That's their real name?
That's the name.
That's their government name.
I feel like it's
Creole. That's Cajun. It's French.
Phuket. And here's the other one, Shauna Faye.
Yes,
I've heard Shauna Faye before.
Really?
Phuket, I've never heard before.
Nah, I've never heard Phuket.
Shauna Faye's walking around in the world.
I got another cousin in Alabama named Pookie. So yeah.
Is Phuket Pookie's daughter?
No,
Oh,
it sounds like it should be, right?
I always consider Pookie a fake name, but there are a couple of Pookies out there. Van Jones, anytime he speaks about, he's supposed to be talking about like, black poor people, he always pulls out the name Pookie.
so does
I was like,
Obama.
yo, B, the overuse of Pookie as a name, as a synonym for poor black folks is like crazy.
Yeah, but every house in Birmingham one is boarded up. The next one's a regular house. It's so old, and it's like I don't see how people would want to move there. It's crazy.
Wow.
Ugh.
Damn.
Big up to Birmingham.
She was like mad depressed about Birmingham.
It was.
Birmingham got some stuff. I know people like Birmingham. They live in Birmingham. They enjoy it. They got some issues, but they like
People that live in other parts of Alabama like Birmingham.
Whew.
That was Jackson,
Okay.
Mississippi. That was no. There's some truth. Jackson, Mississippi was the big city for folks who were in other parts of Jackson.
Mhm.
But the kids already in Jackson, they were like, "Oh, we getting the hell out of here."
Oh,
Like they were like New Orleans, Atlanta, some
Right.
other place or whatever like that. I
Memphis.
see that. You
and
should be kinder in your description. Though. It's the first time you've been there.
No, who?
You, Birmingham.
No. I got family in
Family
Birmingham.
there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't forget his parents is from down south. One of your parents is from Texas, and the other one is from Alabama.
Yep.
Damn, you're good. I don't remember that at all.
Well, that's what friends do. They remember things about you.
Well, yeah.
Ear doctor, I'm curious about black homegoing rituals always kind of fascinate me. So respectfully, was there people falling out at the funeral?
Nah. Well, one of my cousins, when they walked in, it was she really took care of her. Actually, she died in her arms, so I get that one. Yeah. But she was 96 years old. I mean, she lived.
Hey.
Yeah, she lived life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the church food was horrible.
Oh no.
Yeah,
the church food was horrible.
Yeah, the repast when you come back to the church.
Repast is usually the highlight.
I know it tastes like Piccadilly's. You know how Piccadilly's don't put no seasoning. Am I just calling out people? My bad.
You are, B. You are really. You're a critic.
You know how they make food for old people and they don't put no seasoning so they don't mess up their heart.
Damn, I'm not even familiar with that. All the old diabetics I know just take that shit on the chin. Like, yeah, sugar, throw that shit in there.
So yeah, that was my weekend, and got to watch some good playoff basketball. How about you, Kim? No, you don't remember.
No, it's with a heavy heart that I had to put my dog down on Saturday.
What?
Oh no!
Yeah, I had to
Not
Bagheera.
Bagheera.
Yeah.
Why?
Damn.
Well, she was 16 come out, which is very old.
My age in dog years. Yeah.
No, she's like twice your age in dog years.
Oh,
Like
damn.
112, 14, somewhere in there. So it was time. She let me know that she was tired, and it was time for her to go on up to yonder. So Saturday we sent her on home. She had really a very peaceful transition. She got to lay on the porch and listen to the birds, and her favorite vet was the one who did it. This black woman veterinarian, Dr. Kirkendall, Hyattsville Animal Hospital. Shout out.
They come with
So
an
you
injection?
a hired killer?
They hit him in the head. What they do?
A hired
Shoot
killer?
him?
No, euthanization.
Yeah,
You should familiarize yourself with it. Your children
I
will
don't
be
either.
exploring it.
But how? What's like gas?
It's a hired hitman.
It's listen to y'all city boys never had a dog. This is very true.
When you say put out
My
dog,
dog died in the truck on the way down south.
The car got hit. The dog got hit by a car. Got a bat hit him. He got loose in the yard, and you never saw him again.
So what
it's
they
not like a
do
whole veterinarian process.
Yes, it's so I think it's 2 shots. So they give the dog the first shot as a sedative, tranquilizer to relax it, to basically make it asleep, and then they give a second shot that will stop the heart.
God, it's like the death penalty and shit.
God, you ain't lying. That shit.
It is like lethal injection, but she wasn't twitching and stuff. She was chill. She went peacefully.
So what? She just couldn't pee or nothing?
Wait a minute, though. How we know the dog wanted to die?
That's what I'm saying. What, they couldn't pee no more, or what happened?
She peed that day. She even got out of bark that day. But yeah, well, my dog is very dog aggressive. Even to the end, she would bark at other dogs walking by. But I knew that she wasn't well. because she was letting dogs go by and not barking. I'm said, oh, like that's a sign.
That was a sign.
Yeah.
It's time to kill her.
So are you gonna replace?
You got to replace.
Not immediately, no.
Okay,
No.
But soon.
Time for mourning.
Yes, it's gonna be a grieving period. Oh, I mean, you laugh, but it's true. I mean,
no, I'm laughing because Latifah in the chat said you two niggas made me in. We're curious. We never heard. We don't know about these things.
You got to get back out there, Kim. You got to get back out there.
Man.
No, I'm talking. I know the dog helps you get outside, and because what else? What other reason you getting outside and walking around? So
to go outside, to be outside. But my dog, she wasn't going on walks.
To go outside.
She wasn't going on walks anyway.
Oh, she wasn't even doing that part.
Oh,
no,
damn.
she wasn't. She wasn't. She wasn't even top flight security at 16, 15, 14 years old. I'm like, Bagheera, the robber could just walk in here and give you a head nod, and you would head nod a nigga back and send him upstairs. Like, what is this? But no, I'm not. Listen, dogs are a major investment. Let's start there.
Yeah.
You know, they are expensive. They require care, and if they get sick, they require expensive care. So let me recoup my pockets a little bit.
Yeah, I told you my kids wanted a dog, and I made the mistake of just going to just being ignorant as I am about most things, going to a store and thinking, how much that dog is. And it said like $2,000. I was like, $2,000. I was like, what? Was that shit? Was that?
Yes.
I can go find one of those. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean? Like, it's about the breed. I was like, I don't give a damn about all that. I told the kids, you could just put that down. That's you can just
don't even get attached. Don't even.
I was.
No.
And we wound up with a hamster. It was like $30. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I could go buy a bitch for much cheaper than that. Shit.
Oh,
a female dog is a bitch.
Oh, tell me something I don't know, Ear Doctor.
No, he didn't know that. You remember, he's ignorant.
Oh, that's right.
We understood the cross reference though.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was talking about female dogs.
So I'm partial to pit bulls, right? Once I got a pit bull, I said I'm a pit bull mom. It's pit bulls from here on out. Now, where I live in PG County, Maryland, pit bulls are illegal. Okay, but if you go to the PG County Animal Shelter's website, you will see nothing but pit bulls up there. Like, it is the wackest law on earth that pit bulls are banned from this county. Yet everybody has a pit bull, and that's all they have up for adoption are pit bulls.
And
the targeting of this, it's racial profile and targeting of this breed. It's fucked up because they're great. They're great dogs, outstanding, superior dogs. It's not their fault that they just bite harder than everybody else. Like that's not.
Yo, speaking of, I tried to leave my house yesterday, and there was a stray pit bull running around here. A mother and a child was just sitting there, and she was just like, I had to go inside and get my BB gun and shoot one at it just to get in the car. It's crazy.
I'm sorry. Was the dog just out, or was he out being aggressive?
Yeah, like when I was trying to get to the car, like I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute!"
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So I had to lick a shot. I had to lick a shot. It is what it is. I ain't shoot it, but
well, he
got in the car. You did not shoot it.
No. I shot by it.
So the dog got the message?
You damn right. The dog I was in the car and left.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah, I had my sister. My sister's in town, so I had to make sure she got in the car safe and everything.
I would have been aiming at the dog. I might not have hit it either, but I definitely would have been not trying to miss. I might have mistake. I'm the type I would have aimed at the dog and I would have blew out my windshield or something like that.
Sounds about right. All right, so I guess it's about time for us to get into some news and stuff like that. You feel like doing that? Okay.
Yeah, I like the conversation, but we can do news.
Yeah, we can do more conversation a little later. This ain't a complete news show.
We used to be. We tried.
We tried. I feel like we dropped off. Except on Wednesdays. Y'all Wednesdays come for real news.
Yeah, for real. All right. Well, let's take a quick break and come back right here on the Remix Morning Show. Bagheera, big up. Ooh, Bagheera. Oh. Dog having somewhere around here. Yo, big up to everybody tuned in right here, right now. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Thank y'all. Hit that like button, subscribe. If you're new to the channel, go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare. And go to blkliberationmedia.org to donate so we can keep this thing going. You know what I'm saying? Some things we need to do here. And it's cooperative economics. Got to talk about that a little bit at the Black Man Lab yesterday. Big up to the Black Man Lab. And speaking of that, what you can do when we talk about cooperative economics, it's not always about the money. Sometimes this is just about, going and promoting someone else. Like what you can do is you could go right here to IG, Instagram, and go to the Remix Morning Show and, like and, follow us right there. So promote the Remix Morning Show on IG. And that is cooperative economics, y'all. Simple and plain. All right, with that said, let's get to the weather report. Let's start off with ATL. They got a high today of 76 degrees. Next, let's take it to DC. DC has a high of 74 degrees, which is not much different than here. Detroit, 60 degrees is the high. Denver, high of 48 degrees. It is a little brick out there. Compton, big up to West Side. They got a high of 67 degrees. Barbados, 86 degrees. And last but not least, Dakar, Senegal has a high of 80 degrees. And that's kind of hot. I'll tell you what else was kind of hot. In honor of the Met Gala, I decided I'd throw on my blue cut sleeve vest with a hoodie on. Just like your boy came out for the Met Gala. He goes by the name of Andre 3000 with a big ass piano on his back. People say, why did he come out here with a big ass piano on his back? Well, let me tell you why. Pretty much, he's got a new album he just dropped on May the 5th. It's called 7 Piano Sketches. So Andre is once again tampering with different instruments, no vocals, just playing a piano, So if you want to hear somebody just tamper with a piano and not do no vocals, go ahead and cop that. So big up to him. He at least didn't come looking all crazy at this Met Gala thing, but that's what it is. All right. With that said, let's get back to it right here on the Remix Morning Show.
End of the road. End of the road. Still I can't
Yeah.
Your use of tamper is an interesting word choice. Tamper, is he tampering with the instruments or is he experimenting?
What's the difference? Y'all know all the definitions.
Tamper kind of means to interfere with, like to even sabotage, I would say. Would you agree, Kamal?
Yeah, it's almost like I kind of thought you did it on purpose to be like, this nigga should not be touching the piano. He shouldn't be touching the flute.
Kamal gets it.
That's how I took it. You're like,
we want to hear you rap.
Another instrumental album?
Another
one of an instrument that you're barely familiar with? Again.
Sing, rap, something. Fuck it.
That's what I thought he was saying with it.
You are so right. Thank you, Kamal. You picked that up. Some people are a little.
I just don't understand this Met thing though. Like, so you just come dressed outrageously. It's the whole point. Like, people gather. The celebrities love it.
It's a theme, right? So they do a theme every year.
And this was Black Dandy or some shit like that. That was
Black Dandy.
Dandy is a word for dressing a different style, trying to look real fly.
I think it was supposed to be an honor to like, Black dressing in the 30s or 40s or whatever.
Yeah,
like that was part of the theme. So I saw or whatever. I only know about this because I was listening to.
I'm about to say Cabal and pop culture. Listen at it.
Yeah, it's only because I breezed by a couple of articles about them. They kept showing pictures of like celebrities. And so, and I remember last year when people tried to, and what's the name went one year, right? AOC.
Oh,
they eat the rich dress and shit like that. I think this is the same event, but it was like it just stuck in my head because of that kind of thing. So I was like, so this is a celebrity full event. It doesn't matter, world events happening around, but our attention is drawn to how famous people wear clothes and or don't wear clothes, and I guess they're seeking attention because that's their job, is to seek attention or whatever. So. I'm right. Dandyism was the theme. They said right.
Yeah, this is my homage. Let me put
whoa.
That's exactly.
It's
And
my how
that's how
much.
outrageous it looks sometimes. You're like, why? I don't see it.
You know what I'm saying? Record
Get
head.
you silent, my good guy.
All right. Well, I guess it's time to go ahead and get some news. Let me get off the screen and let y'all do your thing. As y'all seen for the thumbnail, what's going on? So I hope y'all address this
I did not see
whole
the
topic.
thumbnail.
What's the thumbnail?
All right. You know about-
Oh, I can bring that video up for my man.
yes, please do address that because we got one off. We got one off. All right.
Who got one off?
Oh,
Nigga, can we
be
get some?
careful, be
So we get some.
Yeah, be careful. Let's be
descriptions?
careful. You'll learn about the story in a minute. I'll
All
talk to
right.
you.
I don't have a lot of details on the story, but we could definitely do that story because we did some interesting video. But go ahead. You want to smack the map?
Slap that bitch. Peace. Everybody, welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Remix Morning Show. I think today is May the 5th. Is that accurate? Come out. I mean, 6. Today's 6.
Yeah.
May 6th. Okay. Happy birthday to all the Tauruses out there. Taurus season. Welcome, welcome. Thanks to all the remixers. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, support us over at patreon.com/Black Liberation Media, or head on over to blkliberationmedia.org for the material support. We appreciate the free support too. So everyone that shows up, even if you don't chat, even if you don't comment, please engage with the content. We so appreciate it. A simple thumbs up is all we ask, right?
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to the chat. Thanks, you guys. I'm making an assumption here, but I know y'all are nice people. Well,
Yeah.
most of y'all are nice people, but yeah, thanks for the condolences for Bagheera, because I know we got a lot of fire famers in here, and Bagheera made several appearances on my program, so I appreciate y'all's thoughts and well wishes.
You
But
sticking with that name still? You sticking with that name?
what you mean, Bagheera?
The Fire Famers. What is it? The Fire what? I'm just
Now, unlike Mayor Muriel Bowser, I respect the will of the voters. I respect the will of the people. You know what I'm saying? This brought, we can get into this story a little bit later, but the voters in DC twice passed an increase in the hourly wage for tip workers, and now the mayor says she's going to overturn it.
wow. That's
I said,
crazy.
there go your Black Democrat democracy right there. Right there.
Like, no. We're not giving you that. That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yes. Oh, it's wow. But wait, what is this? Because ear doctor did not describe the thumbnail for me, so I don't know.
I'm gonna do. I'll make that our first story. I just want to say one quick thing.
Please.
So for folks, I think this series has been amazing, and so I want to give props again to Jared. I think he said he was inspired by Hiram, but he's doing this series on Malcolm X leading up to Malcolm's birthday on May 19th, and sort of his 100th anniversary, May 19th, 1925. Wow. But the series that he's doing, like for me, just it's hitting on things that either I haven't read in a long time or things I didn't know. And he was talking about the Organization of Afro-American Unity yesterday. And some of this I knew, but some of this I did not know. I had to reorder the book that I also have but hadn't read in like 30 years. That part of the role of the Organization of Afro-American Unity in terms of the sort of the revolutionary that Malcolm was the National Liberation Front, was the basically the mass base for other work that he was doing, that Malcolm was doing during that time. People that included training niggas on guerrilla warfare in Cuba and in Africa. So I mean, so these ideas around like who Malcolm was and Malcolm being confused in his later years or not quite set on this or whatever. There's this, and the other stuff that he brought out around Malcolm talking explicitly in his diary around the cure for capitalism is more socialism. So all that stuff has just been really, really, really interesting to me. And such a great program. And I think people who, again, want to know about Black radical politics, sort of, again, Malcolm is this extremely important figure. Please check out that series. I think they just dropped episode number 11 or something like that. But this one was just really, really good because it just talked about, again, how Black bourgeoisie and other just the institutions of white America are continually attempting to change Malcolm into this figure who can be revered and not feared, right? So, but not exposing and talking about Malcolm's politics and actions and Malcolm as an organizer. So I love I've been loving the series, and so I just want to give big ups to it.
Kamal, when did you first, before we get into the news, I have a question. When did you first discover that the Black bourgeoisie was your enemy?
Wow. I think it came into complete sort of fulfillment during the Dinkins years in New York as a young person, and having some sympathy for Dinkins because of the treatment that he received in office, particularly during Giuliani, who helped police basically a march by the police that they were carrying around toilets and janitorial supplies, calling him a janitor and all that kind of stuff. So just open racism that Giuliani inspired, and even though Giuliani beat him, and again, Dinkins was somewhat of a sympathetic figure from that point of view. Of course, like, you know, a black man being unfairly, like, you know, targeted, racially profiled, and all that kind of stuff. But Dinkins was also the person who sent the cops to Crown Heights at one point after being critiqued for not sending him out fast enough, but sent them to surround the neighborhood. And I think that was like a crystallizing moment for somebody like me, who was just like, so this dude who at one point wore an X hat or something or whatever. So I was like, oh, so this dude is this work, he's both, presenting himself as this one image of like supporting, helping Black folks, but he's working for corporate and capitalist interests. And when he's told to do something, he does it, right? So, so that was this thing. It was like, oh, the sympathetic older brother who it felt like, oh, he was getting a raw deal, but then it was like, oh, he's signed up for this. You know what I mean? He signed up for this. He just wants to be. He's mad as part of the bourgeois state to be disrespected, but he's not mad in terms of having to fulfilling a role of being the leader of that bourgeois state at the time.
Well said. Good stuff.
Thank you.
They're still your enemy, right? In spite you passing the bar and shit.
Say it again.
I said the Black bourgeoisie is still your enemy despite you passing the bar. I'm being.
Yes. Despite the fact that I could have had easy entree into the full Black bourgeoisie, and obviously there were perks to receive if I played my cards right.
Oh, Kamal, you could have been summering at Martha's Vineyard.
I really could have been a metro.
Your daughter would be getting ready for the cotillions.
Yes.
No diss to the cotillion crowd. I know we probably got some cotillion attendees with us, but come on, y'all niggas know y'all are very bougie for that shit, okay?
That when I look back at it, I was like, oh, there were so many roads I could have traveled. So many roads I could have traveled to, like, some resources and all that kind of good stuff.
Big up to David Dinkins, straight out of Trenton, New Jersey. Just had to put that out there.
Is Dinkins dead now? He died, right?
Oh, yes.
He did?
Yes,
he always looked 68. No matter what year it was, he always looked as a smooth 68 years old. When he was in his 50s, when he was in his 80s, he always carried like that 68-year-old grandpa look. Thank you for that. I did not know he passed. Yeah.
Y'all are hilarious. All right, let's get to. I was curious because usually there's a betrayal involved, right? Like a Black person from an ascended class will do something that you feel either betray you directly or betray the masses, and it's like, oh, you niggas ain't shit. Y'all just got titles. Got it.
Yeah, I think by that time I'd read a lot, so it was kind of like that culmination of all the things that you read and seen it in real life, even if it wasn't personal to you. But it was somewhat personal because that was the neighborhood I lived in, right? So it's like, yo, all these fucking cops, and who they pointing at? They pointing at us. And then I tell you, like, they gave us this. It was at least 100 cops on horseback.
Shit, in Crown Heights.
In Crown Heights, that was the crazy shit. It was like, this is Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and all of a sudden it was like at the train station, the 3 line on Eastern Parkway, Kingston stop. Cops just for all the eye can see. It must have been even more than 100, but it was was like they borrowed cops from. I mean, they borrowed horses from New Jersey, or they shipped them in. I don't know what the fuck they did, but I mean, I just like this. It's a whole row, and it was openings for you to get through to get to your neighborhood. That was it. That was their show of force kind of thing. And that was just like, yo, this, it was just like, this is crazy. This is crazy. So some kid gets killed by a Hasidim ambulance driver. And again, but prior to that, even I think I told us like there was a famous episode where Hasidim basically tore up a precinct. All the things that we were always told that we can't do, whatever, and no one was arrested. They're literally like, throwing glass, like, tearing up a precinct. But this is, so it was like one of those clarifying moments of like, oh, wow, this is crazy. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. So this story is interesting. I don't have a lot of details on it. Others may, but
what does the story involve?
The story involves a father who his son was killed by a retired sheriff's deputy, apparently.
Do we know where?
Actually, I do not know where. Or I will have to find it. Somebody maybe in the chat, they can add some. Oh, this happened in I think in Cincinnati. So basically his 18-year-old son was shot in the back as he was running away from the cops. I don't know what inspired the incident. But the father of the boy, I think within a day or so, allegedly knocked a cop out and killed him. The cops claim he had a gun. Body camera footage shows him running away. So I found this video. People were posting this video, I should say, about his first court appearance. And Kim, I have no idea if you'll be able to see this video very well, but for others,
what does the text say?
The text says they really tried to use over 30 deputies to intimidate Rodney Hinton, but he kept his head up. And the other underlying text says realest man in the world. So it's really about his reaction to he's in court, first court appearances. They're bringing in all these cops as a show of intimidation, and also to suggest how dangerous he is, and it's to put out this profile of who he is. And he, walking through the cops, was not shivering or in fear, but purposely kept his head up and gave the cops a stare to be like, yeah, that's right. An eye, like basically an eye for an eye. And I'm ready for you as you're ready for me. And I think he has some injuries suffered, probably from being in custody. So I'm gonna play this video real quick for folks. And it's head up, giving the grimace. Worth a second play.
You're like, yeah, I did it.
Now, yeah, it was interesting. The other part, again, this has gotten some social media play, and I've seen other people say like, yo, this brother should be held up the way y'all held up Luigi, right? Because on our
details, I'm sorry, are you telling me that this man, he killed a cop with a punch? He punched him to death?
Yeah, I'm going to look for an actual story, but they said he hit a cop.
I thought he ran him over.
Say it again.
Thought he ran him over.
The video said hit, but I'm gonna find another story about what took place.
But ultimately, this police was not shot by this man.
No, his son was killed.
The son was killed by the sheriff's deputy, and then the father approached a different cop and allegedly injured them into.
Okay, I got the story.
I'm sorry, yeah. I just got to get the details.
No. You should have the details. We should be reporting news. I was just all excited about, like the ear doctor. I was excited about. Somebody said crash a car into him. Yeah. So, when they said hit, they meant literally hit. My bad.
With a vehicle. Got it.
Yes, I thought they meant punch. So it says authorities in Ohio said a man purposefully struck and killed a sheriff's deputy the day after his teen son was fatally shot by the police. Rodney Hinton Jr. Has been charged with aggravated murder in the death of the sheriff's deputy who was struck Friday while directing traffic near the University of Cincinnati, according to authorities. Cincinnati police said Hinton is the father of 18-year-old Ryan Hinton, who was shot and killed by an officer the day before. On Sunday evening, Sheriff Charmaine McDuffie identified the deceased Hamilton County Sheriff's deputy as a Larry Henderson, and they recognize talking about the cop or whatever. And it says he's.
I gotta ask.
Here's a picture of the white cop that he killed. He's a bulky white cop too.
All right.
Then most of the stories about his background and the cops. It says at a court appearance on Saturday, Hamilton Sheriff's deputies packed the courthouse in support of the fallen deputy. Prosecuting attorney Ryan Nelson said that Hinton Jr. movements in his car on Friday were calculated and premeditated. He added he lined up his car, deliberately accelerated his car, and purposely caused the death of an on-duty deputy sheriff. The attorneys representing Hinton Jr. said that he faces a very serious, very terrible charge, but noted that he has no felonies on his record. They say, I understand that this is an emotionally charged situation, the attorney said, mentioning the death of Hinton Jr.'s son. He added, I understand that there is a lot of sadness and a lot of anger in the room right now and in the community at large. In a statement Saturday, attorneys representing the Hinton family said they were hired to investigate the death of Ryan Hinton, and that Ryan Hinton, along with other family members, met with the Cincinnati police on Friday. So that's the story. Basically, the father, after finding out his son was killed by the police or the sheriff's office, got into a car the next day and allegedly targeted another deputy as payback. And then part of the discussion, I was going to say real quick, part of the discussion online I've seen is, well, where's the lift up for this brother who was purposefully had his son murdered by the sheriff's department, revenge. Like we had this huge lift up for Luigi and what he did, and for a representation of what the drug community or with the drug community, they say our drug community, pharmaceutical community does in terms of denying people health care and or not honoring claims when they happen. On the other side, Black folks, we as Black folks suffer from over policing, police brutality, police murdering about people, incarceration and so forth. And this brother allegedly stepped up and did something that was a revenge killing, the same thing as what you can say, in fact, even more personal in terms of what Luigi did. And so will they be this outcry of support for this Black man who basically, said like an eye for an eye?
I don't think Luigi Mangione is the right comparison here. I'm thinking more along the lines of Chris Dorner. And even today, I'm not 100% clear on how Black people as a whole, I mean, we're not a monolith, but overall, I don't know how people feel about Chris Dorner. For those that don't know who Chris Dorner is, he was a real American hero, okay? Former he was LAPD until he started blamming on LAPD, and he blamed a few LAPD and some of their family in response to, the traumatic experiences he had dealing with racism, amongst other things. And it was an amazing pursuit of Chris Dorner. He was able to evade and elude a lot of cops for a long time before they finally caught up with him, and I think burned the cabin he was hiding out in down, and it was a big thing. But I personally was rooting for Chris Dorner. I'm going to root for this gentleman. Unfortunately, I don't think this guy is going to come out or come home. But at the same time, I think we as Black people need not be afraid of celebrating, supporting, and lifting up the names of people who commit actions like this. And I know some of the, respectables and the, the good Christians will be like, well, we shouldn't be blah, 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 blah. We shouldn't, police have a hard job and we shouldn't advocate for more violence. No, we shouldn't. But the violence against our community that comes from the police never ends. It doesn't quit. Year after year, decade after decade, generation after generation, the police know that they can murder us with impunity, right? And I'm shocked that this situation doesn't happen more often. And I think part of the reason it doesn't happen more often is because we are a subdued people. We have been put in our place. We understand, or we believe that we have no power to strike back against the state. We believe that the state has a one-way monopoly on violence, and they don't. Not in America. Not with 440 million pew-pews. They do not. And even though that gentleman did not, pew-pew in this situation, he responded in a ways that I would imagine a lot of fathers would, a lot of parents would, and a lot of parents of slain children killed by cops wish they could have. And let me say this real quick. My last point. So for the gentleman to have sustained some injuries, obviously, while in jail, we know who didn't beat him up, right? Chances are it was not other incarcerated people. There was an incident here years ago in PG County. It happened in Laurel, maybe something similar, actually. And unfortunately, the names I can't recall, but people who have Google fingers can look it up. But it happened on Laurel Bowie Road, where a black man, youngish, I think he was in his 20s, 30s, struck and killed a PG County cop with his car. They actually renamed the section of Laurel Bowie Road Route 197 after this cop. And they apprehended the guy, took him into custody, and then they killed him while he was in jail. And I remember being a younger person, probably in my 20s myself, just being aghast, silly me for my naivete, but I was really shook by the fact that the cops did not even pretend to try to give this man due process, an opportunity, convict him in jail. I mean, convict him in a court, put him in jail for the rest of his life. For the cops to be able to go into his jail cell and murder him. And by the way, no cop was ever held responsible for that murder. It just showed me that there is no justice for Black folks. Whether we wrong, whether we right, we don't get justice. We get whatever the state decides that we deserve in that instant. And if it is an execution that no court proceedings were necessary, these pigs will do that. So that I think that's it.
I think my only comparison with the Luigi case is whether, again, this person who comes out of nowhere and does an act which normally would be considered simply a crime, or it's like, oh my God, there's a shock of someone who actually targeted someone and killed them. But instead, it's become this sort of social media phenomenon where a lot of people have either celebrated, to be honest, or have said that they feel like it's justified. And he's become somewhat of a folk hero, right, in terms of the violence committed. I don't see the corresponding, whether or not it's the brother that you mentioned, but I don't see the corresponding or the suggestion that there should be even a folk hero made. Again, I think this video there's segments of communities which are saying that, but the Luigi situation became this mass thing of like people all across the country, and still so powerful of a thing that even the media had to report on it in a way that talked about why people would be so willing to be on the side of someone who basically shot somebody in the back of the head, right? And again, this maybe just happened, but I think this video has gone somewhat viral. But my outstanding question was, will there be somewhat of a similar outpouring of like support for an act which some people may consider heinous, but others would say under the circumstances could be justified? I suspect not, and for the obvious reasons of like, a Black man who does this is not going to get the same love and support of someone who people consider someone who is white, but someone who people consider to be good looking or whatever it is,
Hmm.
that there's going to be this other level of cultural support or whatever that's innate. But I just thought that was curious and or interesting, including, you know, I completely agreeing with what you're saying in terms of like, hey, this other the anguish of having someone kill your child, and then the expectation is that you're just supposed to sit with it, or just, you know, they can spin any tail they want, and you're supposed to just be like, oh, okay, I got to wait for the courts to decide. You know, sometimes you don't, apparently.
And not to single out Ohio as being unusually bad for police violence, but there have been so many higher profile and lesser profile murders of Black people in the state of Ohio, up and down the state, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton. Like again, Ohio's not worse than Maryland, not worse than Georgia, but god damn, like, I mean, the circumstances of which I can think of several young brothers and sisters. It wasn't Micaiah Bryant, the sister, the teen girl who came out the house with a knife. She had called police for assistance. Cops showed up within seconds, murdered her. John Crawford II, Tamir Rice. I'm thinking of the young man in Columbus, Ohio, who the fucking pigs murdered in his bed. He was asleep. You know what I'm saying? The corruption of the East Cleveland Police Department. I mean, we could go on. Like, we could go on. And again, no diss specifically to Ohio. It's just that goddamn, when I mean, it's almost like Mississippi, goddamn, Ohio, goddamn, when it comes to these cop killings. There was a brother they shot 90 something times as he was running away. The DoorDash driver or the food delivery. I mean, just obscene amounts of stuff. So, and I think honestly, cops themselves are shocked that they don't get blamed on more often. That's probably why they go as hard as they do at traffic stops and the like. Six fucking cop cars or expired registry. If you niggas don't get the fuck on with your scary asses, but this is what they anticipate their job is on a daily basis. We put our lives in danger. No, nigga, nigga on the trash truck put his life in danger every fucking day.
Yeah,
you ride around in a car with a gun on your hip. You ain't in danger.
Yeah, you put other people's lives in danger and then they mad at you, kind of thing. You know.
Oh, well, can we extend up first of all our deepest sympathies and condolences to the Hilton family, especially for the loss of Ryan, and an open invitation. Somebody who's familiar with the family, part of the family, represents the family, if you like to come on here and tell us, talk about what Mr. Hilton is enduring in the ways that we can support him. Because I mean, come out, don't let me speak for the platform here, but we would like to support him if we could, right?
We would like to support getting the story out and making sure that folks understand what the father's anguish was and why he did what he did.
Allegedly did.
Allegedly.
Yeah, exactly. Big up to my brother Zaki. He sent me a little bit more footage of what's going on up there. So I just thought I'd put this on the screen for you.
Okay.
Cincinnati. Oh, damn. I pushed the wrong button.
To start a podcast with Riverside, all you need is a concept and a way to record it. Here's how it works.
I don't know why that.
First, go to riverside.fm and open an account, and then you'll be able to capture high-quality video and audio practically anywhere in the world. When it comes to editing, Riverside is perfect for beginners. Even if you have zero experience, you can use their AI tools and intuitive editing features to create a professional-looking result. You can get transcriptions automatically.
Good, doctor. You got
again with a stolen vehicle, a Kia from Edgewood, Kentucky. GPS tracking led the investigation here, a condo complex in East Bryce Hill. Officers arrived, and Chief Terry Thiegy explains what happened next.
All four individuals get out and start running. Some in different directions. So officers decide which individual they're going to pursue. One officer decides to pursue the individual who we now know had a firearm in his hand.
At some point, the person with the gun slips.
They heard the metal from the firearm hit the concrete. This individual gets up, still has the firearm in his hand, and continues to run through the dumpsters.
The officer who fired the shots was chasing another suspect before he made contact with the armed suspect.
The officer who did discharge his firearm said that when the individual came out between the dumpsters, He had the firearm in front of him. He was in like a bladed position, and it was pointed at the officer.
You're a liar.
And he felt threatened for his life, and that's why he discharged his firearm.
All right. I think we need a mental health break after that.
Real quick, kiss my ass, media, mainstream legacy. Ohio is an open carry state. This is America. It drives me up a fucking wall every time they be like, and a handgun was discovered, as though like a handgun is a rarity. Like, oh my God, we never find handguns on people in America in open carry states. Like the shock or the sensationalism of Black people actually having the audacity to carry a handgun. Well, they found a gun on him. Bitch, he lives in fucking Ohio. Of course, he found a gun on him. Like, people carry guns in this country in open carry states. Like that is not unusual.
Yeah. And then to shoot him in the back.
You sensationalize and demonize people. Like, oh my God, they must have been dangerous. They were carrying a gun. Everyone carries a fucking gun in America. Miss me. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah, shooting them in the back is
cowardly.
Different. Yeah. So I mean,
soft to scrotum skin.
Soft to scrotum skin. We're gonna take a break on that one. A mental health break, and we're going right back here with more of the Remix Morning Show. All right, let's take a remix on the remix break right here on the Remix Morning Show. Why ain't this? There we go. Let's do it like that, y'all. Remix on the remix.
What y'all know about a supermodel fresh out of Air magazine? I hold bottles, look pimp juice, I keep it running. Bad than a mother. Oh, say you're a bad girl, baby. If you're a bad girl, play us when you see me. Act like you know me, yeah. I keep $1 worth of dimes. You know, pimping ain't easy. For all my chicks in the club, who knows how to cut a rug? If you're a bad girl, get at me, bad girl. Type full of rock.
All right, let me take you to a time and place. Let me take you back to 2004 off that Confessions album. We're talking about Usher. Name of that song is Bad Girl. Mixed with a little bit of 2015. He goes by the name of Rico Richie. Name of that album is Realest Story Ever Told. Poppin' is the name of the song. All right, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare, and you can donate. Why? Because we are demonetized here on the channel because we keep bringing that real. All right, blkliberationmedia.org. Go there and donate, and let's keep this thing going. All right, with that said, let's get back to our crew. You know how we do, right here on the Remix Morning Show.
I want no problem. You don't made them block it, yeah.
Look like you was ready to turn up, come out.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Not that I wasn't crazy about the whatever, but
that mix.
The beats.
Okay,
the beats were good. The beats. It's always the beats.
Right, you know. I had to do that for the Met Gala, you know, the whole supermodel type thing. Yeah. That song right there, that Usher song, get the ladies singing, boy. They love that song you played at the club. Yes, sir. All right. Usher look dapper. He ain't look all crazy. It was a lot. I think that dandyism actually brought them out there to not look all crazy and putting super crazy stuff on. So
see, when when I hear Black Dandy, I'm thinking of the Nicholas brothers. You know what I'm saying? The dancing Nicholas brothers of those of a.
I think they're right. I think that's part of the genre that they were supposed to be trying to bring back or emulate, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. Yeah. Now I haven't seen enough. Maybe your next break, doctor, just to help you produce a little bit. Suppose it's showing us videos of things that we just covered. Why don't you look for some of the pictures from the Met?
Nah. We don't do gossip.
We don't pictures.
We don't do gossip and stuff like that over here, man.
Gossip.
We don't. Yeah,
we don't celebrate entertainers like that over here.
Oh, so we can talk about them. I want to talk about them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we can
I'll
talk
see.
about them.
I'll see if I can find some. I know.
Just a couple, just like 3 or 4. Some of the most outrageous ones.
Got you.
Or good ones, if there were.
Yeah. I want to see the outrageous ones. You can look for the good ones on your own time.
Anyway, I have questions for you, Kamal. Welcome, everybody. Remix Morning Show, Black Liberation Media, Kim Brown, Kamal Franklin, Id Doctor, y'all, N's, YNs, ONs, MANs, middle-aged niggas. You know what I'm saying? We got them all in here. So thank you all so much for joining us. As you know, the sex trafficking trial for Sean Diddy Combs has begun. Jury selection underway at the Manhattan Federal Courthouse. Kamal, I have questions as a New Yorker about the process, because I'm wondering if some of our esteemed viewers may get called in for jury duty. And please don't tell us if you are, because I want you to make it on this fucking jury, okay? Don't talk about the shit. Don't post. Don't comment. No emojis. Just keep your mouth shut, because we want you to get picked, okay? Kamal, so when they're doing jury selection for a federal trial, where do they pull? Do they pull people from all over the city, or just Manhattan, or how does that work?
Well, no, they have a particular area and district that they will pull from. I think it's, but it extends way past New York City.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it's the southern district of it might be the southern. I can't remember if he's in the southern. I'll pull it up real quick. The story I just found. But so that, and usually that means that you will get to be at like a wider jury in federal trials.
WIDER or WHITER?
Oh, sorry, WHIT. Yeah, whiter. A wider area and a whiter jury. So even if these areas are in places where, like, the federal court is, it's in a place where there's a high amount of Black, Latino, or other folks of color and people in New York City, the federal trials draw from a much larger pool, which includes suburbs and other areas, and you will get a whiter jury. Why are they showing this dance video of all the videos to show of So I'll read a little bit about the I know you might have some more questions, but it says the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs started Monday, beginning the first courtroom test of whether one of hip-hop's most important figures used power and wealth amassed in the music, clothing, and spirits industry to sexually abuse, coerce, and exploit alleged victims for decades. Known by various names throughout the years, Combs became a rap
impresario.
Thank you so much. Impresario in the 90s, launched a career of various people that they mentioned. Combs is on trial for an alleged conspiracy that ran for 20 years, from 2004 to 2024, in which federal prosecutors in New York allege he abused, threatened, and coerced women into prolonged, drug-fueled sexual orgies with male prostitutes he called freak-offs and threatened them into silence. Combs, who once proclaimed himself bad boy for life, now faces what amounts to a life sentence if convicted. He has pleaded not guilty to all the charges.
So some of the reporting coming out of the first day of jury selection mentioned that potential jurors, especially women, were asked if they had either themselves been sexually abused or knew someone that had been sexually abused. And the reporting said that overwhelmingly, majority of the women answered in the affirmative, right? Which is interesting. I'm guessing that's the defense is probably more interested in that. Whether or not you have sex abuse survivors rendering judgment on someone who is himself accused of sex trafficking. Good luck finding a woman out here, or man for that matter, but woman specifically, who has no experience, who has never experienced sex abuse in their life and knows no one who has experienced sex abuse in their life. No, sir. That's not going to happen.
On the defense side, classically speaking, yes, they would try to knock them off. And on the prosecutor side, they would try to put have those folks selected to sit on the jury. I think, like, you bring it, like, this is an interesting point for, like, who is the defense targeting for who they would want to sit on the jury. And I like men, right? Most likely working class men who've been propagandized to either, and they won't be able to get all of this information out, but in their minds, men who are probably more conservative, which is weird in this case because, they see a black man up there and it's like there's an instant guilty thing that comes over their head. But they want somebody who's thinking that, these were people consented to it, or women, the women might have deserved it, or why were they there in the first place? So they're looking for not a conservative in terms of the overt politics, but a conservative in terms of lifestyle politics, right? Mm-hmm. That's part of the jury pool that they're looking for. And they might even be looking for some black women who they think will be sympathetic to. It's when folks read juries, black women, and particularly in certain places, are more prone, in terms of this sort of generalization about jurors, to vote to acquit black men because they look at them as their sons, right? So there's also an eye towards that, and whether or not they think that overrides an allegiance to what they see as women who are sexually abused by black men. So there's all this psychological analysis that goes into picking, because he has Diddy has all this money and resource. I'm sure they've done sort of a full psychological makeup of who they're targeting and who they want to be on the jury that they think will help them get the best possible outcome for themselves.
I'm telling you, this trial is going to be about watching the money work, to be honest. Because, I have a question. Diddy is charged with RICO. What's RICO stands for? Racketeering?
Influence, corruption, organization.
Okay, my dumb ass thought the C stood for conspiracy. It doesn't. But it
might be right. No. You might be a better lawyer than I am.
I'm not. I'm wrong. The C does not stand for
Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act. Okay.
But the even the acronym itself kind of implies there's an implication of conspiracy there, that this person did not work alone, right? Because of organization, right? Where are the other conspirators? Kamau, serious. I know nothing about the law. I'm just befuddled at how is one nigga charged with a conspiracy? How is one nigga charged with RICO? And to be clear, chat and everyone watching later, in my humble opinion, this nigga did all of this shit plus more plus worse. Okay. Mm-hmm. I do not think that the government has got a good case against Diddy. I think there is a very good chance that Diddy is going to walk. Where is the conspiracy come out? Where are the other niggas?
I completely agree with you. I think, and again, the RICO statute has been used now as this catch-all for charging and again putting this out in the public and making the public feel a certain way about it. Or it could be maybe we just don't know about the lesser conspirators because they haven't been named or publicized. So there could be others. I just don't know. I've not seen the indictment, but there could be others, and we're just not paying them any attention. But you are correct. Classically, in racketeering charges, it is not just one person. Who are you colluding with in terms of an organization? Usually it's like in these kind of situations, which are non-drug, so-called drug organizations or whatever, but more like a Jeffrey Epstein. It's like, well, where's the person who helped facilitate? Who are the other people involved in the sex acts? Who helped support inviting people to the party? So usually it's supposed to be all these other people. Now, then maybe they were and they're unindicted conspirators because they're about to flip and give testimony. So there could be a lot of these kind of things that we just don't know about yet or haven't read closely yet, where some of the people who could have been indicted are now saying, wait a minute. Instead of indicting me, I can tell you what Diddy told me to do this. And I did it because he was my boss and I felt obligated to do it. And I didn't know it was, their defenses, they didn't know it was illegal, or they thought the sex stuff was whatever, or they felt he had something over them. But that's the other part, is whether or not they're going to have all these other people who are around, bodyguards, other people who are now going to be being like, yo, this nigga did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and he laughed all the way through. And anything obviously to as both indicting the character, but also someone who can say they were there witnessing the acts, and the acts were not consensual, that these women were not. Again, it's one thing to say that they're whether or not they were paid to do it, whether or not they were paid and or forced to do it, whether or not they felt they could not deny, say no to Diddy because of intimidation or threats and other things like that. So that's what I agree with you. They have to build this up. And again, whether or not there's other folks who are going to be, again, my assumption is that there's going to be other folks testifying because they were flipped to be like, yeah, no, I totally against it, but I was forced to do it because my boss said if I didn't do it, these things would happen to me and or my family. So I think it's and then on the defense side, it's going to be like, so you're coming up here suggesting that you were not involved in this, and whether or not they would have pictures or this person's on salary. So basically to say you completely thought this was legitimate, you thought it was fine, all the people consenting, you're doing this now because you're scared of getting jail time yourself or getting prison time yourself if you're convicted.
I'm thinking either everybody's talking or nobody's talking, right? Like either all the minions and colleagues that was partying right alongside Diddy, doing the drug-fueled alleged assault parties and all the other crazy shit. I'm guessing either everybody's talking or nobody's talking, because I think if everybody just shut up, they could probably skate, right? Like if they, I mean, video evidence of which I'm sure there is a lot of, you know, some stuff needs to be put into context. It needs corroboration. And if nobody says anything, well, then I guess, but I don't know. I'm very confused why more people haven't been named in these indictments. Considering, again, Diddy's a big fish with lots of resources and the ability to direct others to do, you know, his bidding. So where are the others? where are the others? He wasn't booking hotel rooms. He wasn't going uptown to go procure cocaine. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else did all that shit. So
I'm curious about what you think about you're better with these timelines than I am. I feel like they would not have gone after Diddy so hard if it was not for the fact that hotel video got released, that Diddy could have skated, could have got away with whatever Diddy was involved in. Although I think some of this stuff was taking place, and some of the investigation, if I'm not mistaken, was taking place before, because these allegations have been going for decades. But I think they were forced into acting, or felt maybe this was the time to act, whether or not they felt at the time they had sufficient evidence or not. Because once that video came out and everybody could see, you know, basically what a piece of trash Diddy is, that this became the time to be like, act now, whether we got a solid case or not, in terms of, like you said, people talking, getting evidence and the rest of it. But this was the time to act.
What I found interesting about the video, which is horrific and deplorable and probably only a snapshot, a fraction of what Cassie and others likely endured, when the judge in this case allowed this tape to be admitted into evidence, I thought that was curious, because I'm like, well, it's a horrible, right?
The connection to the actual charges, you mean?
Yeah, because he's not charged and can't be charged with that assault against Cassie, because the statute of limitations ran out and it occurred in California. So it would have been an assault charge if it had been prosecuted within 6 years, but it wasn't. So I'm guessing they're allowing it in to show evidence of like a pattern of behavior, a pattern of violence, a pattern of, you know, him willing to resort to violence in order to keep his alleged victims in their place, or where he could keep control of them. But I'm like, I don't see what I don't think the government got their shit together. Come out. I think this nigga's going to walk. And then if this nigga walks, is this nigga going to be a worser nigga than he was before he got charged? I think he's gonna come out and be terrible, yo.
I think he's high.
I think fucking Diddy's coming out with a vengeance list.
Opposite. He because the video's been out. He's been through this trial. He's gonna be wearing like furry sweaters. He's never throwing another party. He's staying in the fucking house.
You think this nigga? I don't know if this nigga's capable of staying in the house.
I think he has. At this stage in his life and career, he has to know if he does not get convicted, he dodged a bullet. This is not Diddy 25, like with the gun charge, and he beat the shooting charge.
Mm-hmm.
Where one day later he had the video out, right? He had the Harlem Shuffle video out or whatever. I think my man is in a different state. I mean, right after that other video came out, he did the whole, I'm not the man. I'm not perfect. He put out the daughters, to show he has a kid. I think he does a one of these, and if he gets convicted, I think he tries to get Trump to give him a pardon or some shit like that, So I think he's got all that, but I don't see him coming out. It just would be it would, yeah. I don't think he can afford to, and he's going to face a lot more lawsuits. He's going to be having lawsuits from now until like the next 25 years.
That's
what I mean? So.
He's got hundreds of civil lawsuits pending, but I'm saying like egomaniacal people like that they can't. Like if he's free, he's going to Diddy it up. Now, to your point, he might rebrand. I can totally see this nigga going a mega church route. I can totally see Diddy up in the pulpit. I sinned. He gonna run down the sins. I used to fuck 30 bitches. You know what I'm saying? He gonna run it down, all of his sins, but I'm saved. Oh man, Diddy and Kanye church? Oh yes. I see it.
I see people taking bets. People are taking bets.
Oh, what's the bet?
I don't know.
What's the money?
A lot of people agreeing with you. Somebody also put up like Cosby. He'll be wearing Cosby sweaters or whatever like that. Like I don't know. I think he has to keep quiet, but we shall see. I
don't think he can do it. But anyway.
Okay, so the next story I have, I was reminded by my new good friend. I was gonna call her my good friend in the chat. So over this weekend, again, this story, the story about what's happening in Israel and is no longer being covered by mainstream press. I mean, let's start there.
In America, I will give credit. America. BBC, I don't ask why, but I've been watching BBC, Sky News, and Canadian Broadcasting Company. They are still carrying it.
They're still carrying it?
Yeah.
So all the different details and factors that, again, like, put it like this, in like you said, in U.S. corporate media, it is no longer front page news to kill, murder, starve Palestinians to death, right? This is now, you cover it because you have to say, you could, particularly like a paper like the New York Times, excuse me, you put a story in, but you make sure that story is not prominent, and you put it in a certain place where it's not going to be read in mass. So again, it's not like front page news that things like this are happening. So on May 2nd, a Freedom Flotilla vessel, I think it's called Conscious, a civilian unarmed ship carrying humanitarian aid, was attacked by an Israeli drone in international waters. The ship entered Maltese territory in distress. Its mission of relief violently interrupted. And so for us, I was at a conference this weekend, and I'm going to drop this website in the chat. One of the things that was so interesting or important about the story, particularly for those of us here in Georgia, is that the drone was actually made by Lockheed Martin here in Georgia.
Wow.
And so immediately organizers and activists went into motion here, not necessarily local organizers and activists, but organizers and activists who are been doing support work for Palestine and other things, went into action and immediately started to try to get more publicity for the story, because the idea was that the ship was not sunk, and luckily no one was murdered or killed on this ship at the time, but Israel could go after this ship once again because countries are not allowing the ship to dock and for people to get off and repair the ship and for it to go out. Some countries are saying, yeah, if you dock it, we taking all the shit and that's it. It's not leaving again. Because they're attempting to appease Israel. And we're talking again about nations that are in majority either Arab or Muslim, some African nations. attempting to appease Israel and not to overtly talk about the genocide that's taking place. Someone was telling me another story about how Israeli soldiers are vacationing in UAE or in other places that are Muslim countries and are not being touched or harmed, or the government. I know there was one incident where a soldier was attacked and the government immediately went after the attacker to make sure that the Israeli soldiers felt safe to vacation there in their places. So really quickly, I will read a little bit of this part. It says, at the root of the violence is a global system that prioritizes capital, empire, and domination over life, dignity, and self-determination. Palestine is not an isolated case. The siege on Gaza is a front line in a broader war against the poor, the colonized, the displaced, and the defiant. And the name of the website is No More Suppressed Solidarity. No More Suppressed Solidarity. I just dropped it in the chat. And online, you can read and fill out, sign on to the open letter as an individual and as an organization. There are toolkits on the website so that you can put out some more social media stuff, or you'll get an email to put out stuff around social media. And so this is a site that's trying to build solidarity. As folks know already in our chat, at least, that Gaza basically has again been cut off from all food aid, water aid. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the Israeli cabinet just passed another resolution in which it is going to re-invade Gaza once again and push everyone, all Palestinians in Gaza, into the southern part, if I'm not mistaken, of Gaza, and basically cut off half of Gaza completely. So this is important as one of the things that is happening for folks to put out as much information as they can on not only what's happening here in terms of humanitarian aid being denied, but that the siege on Gaza continues, that it never stopped in all practical purposes, but it is now at a stage where, again, the thing that we've already talked about, that there is, when people say humanitarian crisis, Gaza is being starved, literally starved. There is a forced genocide that is taking place that is ramping up. International law, international figures are talking about it. But as you said, here in the United States, this is now back page news, if news at all.
I think it was Sky News I was watching this morning, and they mentioned that there was not actions per se, but maybe motions from the International Criminal Court, specifically referencing the famine, right? The starvation, and no medical supplies, no fresh food and water have gotten into Palestine since March the 2nd. 2 months, Kamau. I mean, any update that comes out of Gaza, I'm like, what fresh hell is this? Like, every time you think that the Israelis can't get more evil, can't get more maniacal, can't get more genocidal, they find a way. I said, damn, y'all are the only niggas on earth to get worse every day. How do y'all do this? It's incredible. And nobody come out. I mean, how is this not holocaustic and worse? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and everybody's quiet. I'm talking about world leaders, that is, not everybody, because obviously there are millions of people around the world that are screaming their heads off about what's going on in Palestine. And then this consistent attack on humanitarian workers, on journalists, on aid providers. I mean, the Israelis are blatantly murdering people who are clearly marked as press, who are clearly marked as humanitarian aid. And if the Israelis are redeclaring that they intend to occupy Gaza, right? Like, from what the report I saw this morning, like, under international law, if you are the occupying power, then it is your responsibility as the occupying power in order to provide the basic humanitarian needs for the people of the land that you are occupying. Israel has no intention, desire to do this, right? They're not going to provide any fucking food. They're not going to provide any fucking medical. And yet they are restricting those supplies from coming into the area. So what are we doing here? Like, what are we even looking at right now? Like, this is worse than what happened to the Jewish people in Eastern Europe versus the Nazis, because of just the fact that we all can see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a secret. Like, the shit is not covert. It's not happening under the cover of night. It's happening in broad daylight with live streams. Like, what can we do? Come out, like.
No, I think you're like the idea that these Western leaders are ignoring the obvious evidence of the genocide happening, again, can only come to one conclusion, is that they're part and parcel to the genocide, like, which obviously we know from the beginning. But the whole idea is like nothing is being said by these so-called leaders of countries, like, and they're ignoring it. They're talking about Ukraine. The mass media is talking about Ukraine, but they are perpetrating an actual genocide every day and sending more. And this is the type of thing that can end overnight, because it is the West that is supplying these weapons. Then they know what's happening with the supply of these weapons. They've not cut off any of these weapons. Israel couldn't last a day without the support it gets from the United States and other countries in the West, but particularly the United States. And they could easily just make a phone call and say, well, you know what? No more weapons, because this has to end. That's not what's happening. It's the opposite of what's happening. It's like, you can continue to step this up. You can continue to murder and kill more. And I think the only thing that does work is more mass disruption, mass movement, people occupying or taking over airports, federal areas, land, mass marches, civil disobedience, direct action. All of that stuff has to continue, and it all has to step up, because otherwise, again, the mass media will ignore it, and or claim that anybody who's participating in trying to stop a genocide is somehow anti-Semitic. But that's their only comeback at this stage. So I think, folks have to, who are outside of obviously Gaza and so forth, continue to try to put pressure on these governments to stop, or make things impossible for these governments to ignore, like so your government won't be able to function if this genocide continues. And even pressure on some of these Middle Eastern countries, which are also allowing this genocide to happen because they refuse to do anything. Yemen is now the hero of the area of the world, because despite the fact that Yemen continues to be bombed, again, by the most powerful nation on earth. There was a story that, again, was underplayed when the U.S. bombed an African refugee camp in Yemen and killed, I think, upwards of like 60 to 80 people. Again, not front page news. The United States literally killed refugees in the dozens. And it did not make the top of the news that the United States of America just bombed refugees, killing dozens and dozens and dozens of Africans. Not front page news at all. Third page news, fourth page news, a small article. But this should be like the news for the next 10 days. The humanizing of the victims, the conversation around what led to this. None of that is at play at all. And all because Yemen refuses to bow. And then Yemen just recently was able to have a missile allegedly reach close to the Israeli main airport. So that means, again, there's going to be more bombing of Yemen by the Western powers. But Yemen is the only country, it seems like, at this particular stage, that is taking a forward advance in trying to stop a genocide. And for doing so is being villainized by the West, by the Western media, backed corporate media. But it's going to be, I think, pressuring countries like Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. Again, I think some of these countries just a real, again, they've already been exposed, but just because of this time period, are just really exposing themselves as being basically under the thumb of Western governments and not doing anything while again, particularly for Jordan, I would say, their people, Palestinians, make up half of the Jordanese population. Their people are being subdued at home and being murdered abroad, and they do nothing.
Is it only, shout out to Yemen, of course, but beyond Yemen, is it just South Africa and Ireland in terms of the head of state leadership that is still speaking out against the genocide? Like, I see the Irish, Lord, what's his title? Is it Tasak? I don't know. Is he the president? Is that what they call the president?
He's the president. I'm not sure, the president or prime minister. I'm not sure.
The HCIC in Ireland, like he routinely speaks up, like, and the Israelis are very grumpy at Ireland. In fact, I've even seen some memes that were Israelis joke about bombing Ireland. It's like, oh, they mean that shit. But South Africa also obviously taking the lead on the international court proceedings. Like anybody else? Like, I mean, I know some
there's
folks
still the access of resistance, but they've been beat back, really. Like Iran is now in a position where it's negotiating with the Americans over its nuclear stockpile of not nuclear weapons, of course, but it's uranium. I think there's other country. The Hezbollah is trying to survive.
Yeah.
So I think there's other the Israeli militia. I mean, is the Iraqi militias have backed off somewhat. So I think some of these countries are still, and some of these organizations are still making statements also. But as far as a military reply or a militant reply, it looks like, at least as of right now, the Houthis, the so-called Houthis, are the only group or nation that is doing things in that way. But I think there are other nations that are either kicking out Israeli diplomats or making statements about the genocide. But again, like you said, it's not reaching our ears in the West, or particularly in the United States, because there's a news blackout of anything that could possibly suggest that a country like Iran has a point to make when it comes to stopping a genocide, or the United States being an apocalyptic empire that has always been out of control, but is basically allowing a genocide to take place as we speak.
You said the Houthis landed a missile near the Israeli airport in Tel Aviv?
That was my big news. That's why I know that.
One of them hypersonic. Where are these niggas getting these hypersonic missiles from, Kamal?
They broke through the Israeli so-called Iron Dome defense system. So they did not. So again, showing that these defense systems are not exactly. So yeah. And then
be finishing your sentences.
No flights in Israel for a couple of days. Really? Insurance rates are going up because folks are like, oh, we're not flying there. So this stuff does have an impact when it happens, but it's just, again, the retaliation by the more militarily stronger West is going to be devastating for their country. But in spite of that, they're still fighting back in some way, still trying to stop ships from entering the Red Sea and cargo, particularly Israeli, because this is a way of demonstrating support and trying to put economic pressure not only on Israel, but Western nations and other nations, that there is a genocide happening, and it just can't be ignored.
I would love for us to have somebody. I need the real deal on how this war, this genocide, is really impacting Israeli life, economy, etc. Because I feel like Israel is actually probably down worse than we are being led to believe here in the US and in the West. I think that because they were talking about with this final siege in Gaza, or this, reinvasion and reoccupation of Gaza, that they were calling up thousands of reservists, but it was also reported like that's not sustainable long term, because the reservists are the workers. Basically, they are the young labor force of the Israeli economy. So you can't take them away from work by the thousands for extended periods of time, because the economy is going to go down. But I think the economy is already suffering anyway, because even though few, if any, are stepping up militarily to assist the Palestinians, there has been some economic impact in addition to what the Houthis are doing. Some countries cut off certain trade items with Israel altogether. But again, to your point, because there's a media blackout, we in this country have to search deeply for the resistance actions that even other nations are doing when it comes to trade, etc., travel, etc. So anyway, but
yeah, and I think you're right that the economy is suffering, and the question becomes, what's the pain points, right? So for a country like Israel, again, Israel only survives as a country because the United States gives it a tremendous amount of aid. And does that aid sustain them even through these troubles that they would have economically speaking? In their point of view, they're going to survive even if the propaganda war makes them vilified. Obviously, Israeli has showed that it doesn't care, and that through the West, it will win other friends or win friends back because it'll pay people off. So the question really is what is the pain point for Israel that makes them decide that they can no longer carry on these atrocities? And some of that, again, I think has been the work of millions of people throughout the world in terms of pointing out what's happening in genocide, putting the pressure on Western governments. But I think to also, in my estimation, I don't know how the rest of this is going to turn out, but nothing is going to really change in my estimation until there's a bigger axis of resistance, and that means that some of the surrounding states, again, like a Jordan and in Egypt, there has to be changes in the government, basically revolutions, in order for the impact of a resistance to be stronger, because so many of these Muslim nations have become basically sellouts to Western interests and Western economic interests, and they've sold out the Palestinian cause to a degree where they will apparently allow hundreds of thousands at this stage of Palestinians to be murdered right there next to them, and still cut deals with the United States and still cut deals with Israel. And so they are basically saying they're willing to give up the lives of Palestinians, again, who are also Sunni Muslims, right? Muslims, like most of the majority of the so-called Middle East it's a Sunni. It is amazing that it is the Shiite community, the Shiite Muslims, who are the ones coming to the aid more than anyone, or the offshoot of Shiites, more than any other particular branch of Islam in the Middle East, who are coming to the aid of Palestinians, whereas the so-called fellow Sunni Muslims are, again, under the boot, willfully under the boot of Western moneyed interests. It's not even like Western imperialism they're under. They are working with the Western imperialists because they get paid to do so.
Trump is scheduled to visit the Middle East in upcoming days. He's going to Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar, not making a stop in Israel. Interesting. And you know what, Iran, shame on you if you're trying to make another nuclear deal with these fucking untrustworthy ass Americans. Why would anyone ever make a deal with this country? America reneges on every fucking thing. Trump, it was Trump that pulled out of the proliferation treaty. Why would you do anything? Why would you sit down with America about anything and think that whatever's agreed to is going to be adhered to? Like, why? I don't understand. But you know what? I'm a mind my business.
No, you do understand, because the threat is that they're going to bomb Iran. The threat isn't that
Iran got yappers too, though. Come on, Iran got the yappers.
They don't have the yappers to do with the damage that the United. Again, remember when Iran sent missiles to Israel, right? Again, it's not the same. I know people would wish it is so, but it is not the same as the technology and the weaponry that the United States and the West has.
But so Iran was doing it humanitarian. Like, Iran was deliberately targeting military strikes. They weren't with intention. They were avoiding civilian areas.
Even though a general of theirs was murdered by the United States, Iran did not. What would happen if a country attacked and murdered a U.S. general overtly? The United States would rain bombs on
all the bombs.
And so the United States has all the bombs. The United States can rain bombs on. Again, they do not want to invade Iran because they can't win a war on the ground with Iran. But what they can do is bomb Iran and make it difficult for the Iranian government to sustain any economy whatsoever.
But
And that's part of
I'm sorry not to interrupt, but
no, I'm just saying that's part of the calculus.
Doesn't Iran have what the rest of the other nations do? Don't they have an air force? Don't they have planes?
No, Iran has a small air. Iran does not have an efficient air force. Again, Iran does not fly planes over Israel to attack. Right? Israel flies planes over Iran to attack because Iran doesn't have the Iron Dome types. In fact, they've been promised over and over again by the Russians to send the Russian system, but the Russians have refused to give Iran the so-called outlets, even as Iran is giving, he's giving Russia drones for warfare. Part of that is supposed to be some shared technology. And again, I know there's definitely shared weapons given, but they have not given Iran full access to their own protection system or drone or Iron Drone. It's not called that system themselves. Excuse me. So Iran doesn't have the capacity to stop missiles from penetrating Iran and bombing Iran nuclear sites and cities, right? And that's and again, Iran knows that the United States has the ability to do that, and part of these negotiations is a way to avoid the bombing of their country by these crazy Western forces, which are basically empire, which again has shown that they will do anything to continue to have empire succeed. And so whether or not I think Iran has its own red lines, whether or not they're going to agree to give up everything and anything that the West tells them to do. Apparently, obviously, that is not the case. But they do want to do what they can to make sure that their own nation state is not bombed by Western powers. And I think that's part of what these negotiations, supposed negotiations are. And they're hoping Russia and China will stand up strong and help support Iran during this time period, as they did during the last negotiations, even though they were part of the 5 that said the negotiations have to happen. So I do think that this is part of the ongoing calculus of Iran in terms of having these nuclear negotiations. They know all what you said, that the U.S. is trash, that the U.S. won't live up to their deals. In fact, part of their negotiations is to put something in there that says what happens if the U.S. doesn't, or that live up to these deals that it's putting in. But again, it's not, Iran is not under any, I think even in terms of the axis of resistance, I'll say this, that the October 7th action by Hamas was not something that I think all the nation states and all the components of the axis of resistance, because the axis of resistance also act independently. It was not all the folks saying at the same time that this should happen. I think some of those nations were caught off guard. Some of those other folks were caught off guard, but they went into protection mode. But again, because Israel is supplied by a military might of the United States and Western nations, they don't have the same military as like a Russia, right? No one's bombing. They're supplying weapons to Russia, but they're not themselves, whatever, because Russia has nuclear weapons. And then I'll lastly wrap up on this, at least, and this is why nation states, again, whether secretly or not, seek nuclear weapons, because they understand that the only thing that stops them from being bombed, North Korea does not, no one threatens to bomb North Korea. No one threatens to bomb China. No one threatens to bomb Russia, because they know that these countries have nuclear weapons as deterrents, right? And the reason part of this pressure is being put on Iran is that to stop it, even though Iran has pledged that it does not want a nuclear weapon, but it wants to be in a position, however, to say that we will build one of these if you continue to aggressively attempt to surround and destabilize our nation and our government. But they have not decided to build one outright, but they want to have the technology to be able to do so and the means to be able to do so. But they've stopped short of actually doing so for those reasons, right? It does not, it is claimed and said over and over again. But it does know, right? These nation states do know that the only thing that stops the West from actually bombing them outright is having the possibility of doing to them what can happen to what can happen via the West, right? Having a nuclear weapon to be able to launch it because the West has nuclear weapons, and even though the West doesn't use them at this particular point in time, they have them. And so that's part of what the calculus is on the West, is to stop Iran from ever getting a nuclear weapon. And you remember when South Africa came out of official apartheid, one of the first things that the West demanded was that this African nation state would have to dismantle and give up the nuclear weapons that the apartheid South African government had, courtesy of the West via Israel, right? The only nation state in Africa to have nuclear weapons was apartheid South Africa, white South Africa, the same whites who, of course, are oppressed, right? In South Africa. Part of that deal was that they had to give up the nuclear weapons to end apartheid. At least part of the deal that the West was trying to force them to take, and that they did take, was to give up access to those nuclear weapons so that they would not have that. So that is part of the key, that what what these nation states are learning and have learned, that if you want to stop the West from invading or bombing you, you have to be a powerful military state, because that's the only thing that stops you, which comes with I know I said would shut up, but I'm not. But that comes with the cost of making your economy survive with a mass military industrial complex, right? You have to take money out of your domestic economy to put it into a military apparatus, which sometimes takes money away from the things that you want to do in terms of building up the domestic economy.
I hope the Sahel states get their nuclear bombs to keep the crackers up off them.
Good, yeah.
Anyway,
bringing up the ear doctor. I'm just trying to survive.
Y'all spitting bars. I'm starting calling y'all the Barbantuans. I was trying to give you a little break so you can go get some water and clear your throat there, Kamal. But
it's not. I got a little soft cough.
Little tickle.
Yeah. It's been there for a few days and it's not going away.
Drink more water. Hydrate. There you. Well, we know that's not water in there. Come on. But it's a lot of stuff going on in the other countries, from Burkina Faso to just wild. And even for the thumbnail for tomorrow, to lead into tomorrow, I chose to pick this cover right here, Roots and Culture. You know, I name all the different episodes after songs, Roots and Culture. That's Shabba Ranks. But the whole tariff thing against the movies, you know, that's a whole nother topic right there that hopefully they'll touch on tomorrow. But I was just thinking why I named the Roots and Cultures is because, like, if we stop, you know, people in other countries stop sending movies over and they culture and what's going on, then all the movies going to be green screen, like, after a while. You're not going to be able to go over to other places and film. And then at the same time, we're only going to get pumped a certain amount of information that's coming straight out of America, possibly. So I'm trying to see where this is all possibilities that this could go when we're talking about.
China's another model. Again, China was one of the poorest nations on the planet, and now has a movie industry in which they themselves, they monitor what Western movies get into their country, which may be that may be propagandistic, and they produce their own movie. You know, and I think they now reached a point where it is no longer American-based movies, which are their top movies. Now it is their own movies that they make, which are their movies, which gives an opportunity for a reflection of their own culture, ideas. Excuse me. Obviously, there may be propaganda from the government's point of view, but at the very least, it is not Western propaganda coming into their nation. And I think those cultural fights are really important in terms of what other nations do to get the Western media and Western thoughts and ideas around who the heroes in the world are out of their countries. I know you're referring to a more of a blockade by the Trump administration, but still, I think on the other end of that, it's important that countries build up cultural aspects of their lives so that they are not dependent on these Western influences of culture, which leads people to believe certain things which just are not true about the West.
Yeah, a lot of these schools aren't teaching anything about slavery that happened over enslaved Africans that happened over here in America. So they don't know what we've been through over here, and they look at us a certain way. So it's a way of division and all that stuff too. So
I concur.
But
I think people around the world are very aware of what Black people in this country
Nah.
have endured.
I talked to Africans and they like, we didn't learn about your history. So a lot
Yeah,
of
but I
stuff
don't
is
think they're
sheltered.
being truthful. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry.
African, what reason would they not be truthful about it?
But I don't know. I mean, but you try to tell me Africans, and I don't believe this, by the way. I think whoever told you that was lying to you. But I mean, I know they know about Malcolm X. I know they know about Martin Luther King. I know they know about the Black American civil rights struggle. Like, I know they know this.
They talked about.
I think
Africans and slavery. I'm
I
sure they know about Malcolm X's and stuff like that.
But how did they think we got here? I mean, of course they know about
the slave trade, but I don't think I think part of the issue that happens is that folks come, not just Africans, but all folks come here, but they're over propagandized too. Their vision of America is a place where if you can make it here, that you can, he of course put up a thing that said that he was right, that you can make it here, that you can prosper here, and that the only reason people don't is because they're lazy and shiftless. And again, I think that's part of Western propaganda that gets out to other places around the world, where when people come here, sometimes they are shocked about what it means, like what Cubans. One of the reasons there's still a pull for Cubans that come here to the United States is that they think that that there's going to be a land of opportunity if they get here. And then theirs hit smack. I've had several different folks people who I met in Cuba before they did, and a couple of them who had defected, and they came here. They're working they're in the supermarket bag, and they're just like, I had no idea. It's like, well, I tried to tell you, but but propaganda
niggas was lazy, and it's
shit. We don't get taught our history until we got damn near get to college, if we go. I mean, to be real about it over here. So why would you think
you don't get taught about their history? Americans are the most ignorant people in the world about the history of other countries, other things that people are experiencing, why countries are the way they look. Like Americans are propagandized, and they're just completely ignorant about how the rest of the world operates, works, lives, and are happy and blissful a lot of times in their ignorance, because the propaganda tells them that they're the center of the world, right? So there's a lot of propaganda. A lot of propaganda needs to be defeated. That's there for a purpose.
Surely Africans know, like Africans that immigrate here, they know we didn't immigrate here. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. They know that. But they also think that we don't succeed. Too many people. Now, I don't want to make too vast a generalization. Too many folks, not just in Africa, of course, think that African Americans live here and should be prosperous, but for the fact that we don't take advantage of the opportunities given, as opposed to, if you think there are opportunities, why do you think those opportunities are here? The small ones that are, is because there's been massive movements here in the United States led by Black people to give the small openings that have been, right? But as opposed to that being the ways in which I would say a good portion of people around the world think about the so-called ways in which they can have opportunities. And again, I think it is true that when immigrants come here, they're not as interested in the history. They're interested in survival and the 3 or 4, the stereotype of 2 or 3 jobs or 3 or 4 jobs. But there's also studies that show, like fastly, like after 2 or 3 generations, the children or the grandchildren of immigrants are treated and are economically positioned very close to how Africans in America are positioned, or African Americans are positioned. So this whole idea that also that folks are coming, I had somebody say something about immigrants are coming here and getting rich. It's like, you're not getting rich. You're like, so in a middle class lifestyle that's based on debt is not rich. And then after a couple of generations, they are similarly situated to where African Americans are, particularly African immigrants. So there's a lot to. I think we should have a special guest on that is really deep in that knowledge, because there's a lot of misinformation, not just the propaganda of history, but even economics, around the so-called success of particular immigrant groups, who again usually look down on what they see as a certain positioning of folks who are already been here. But again, we can't be, that's a two-way street of looking down. There's a lot of Africans, I call Africans here, so-called African Americans, Black folks, who exhibit the same type of stereotypes of Africans and Caribbean folks and other Black folks from around the world, which equally should be called out and understood, because we are propagandized into a way of thinking about those folks as we look up to our oppressors, and we also try to integrate with our oppressors.
All right. On that note, we about to get up out of here, Kim. Let me let you know the time.
Shut up. I was gonna say real quick. Hold on, real quick. Now there's a certain irony here that I'm not able to articulate it, but I can see it. Like the irony that some folks, I'm not generalizing anybody, but folks that immigrate here and look down on Black Americans are now the ones themselves, fearful of being illegally removed from the country because they are not Black Americans, right? Like y'all Black, but y'all not from here.
Black.
You know what I'm saying?
Word.
I mean, nigga, come on, Africans from Africa are definitely black, but you understand, but they not. It's interesting. Like, don't look down on us as they are herding y'all into Dulles Airport, to get on flights. Like, don't look down on us. Anyway, I'm not able to articulate the irony, so I'm gonna shut up.
It's all good. All right, so we about to get out of here. And Dante Toure says, what are we going to do? Well, what you can do is you can let people know that the Remix Morning Show comes on Tuesday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And if you really want to talk about it, there's a conference at the end of this month that you might want to make sure you make it to. All right. With that said, Kim, anything coming up except for Classical Breakdown this Thursday? We will be doing the year 1995.
Whoa.
Oh, you ain't know? Yeah.
I did know. I saw your message this morning. I didn't know. I'm excited about 1995 again because you hit me in my high school years sweet spot there, Air Doctor. 95, tennis skirts and Reebok Classics and bodysuits. You feel me? And relaxers.
I like it.
I was in law school. I finished undergrad and grad school. I was in law school. 95.
Law school. Oh, you was
a whole grown up. All right. Much love to all our remixes out there.
Thanks, guys.
I'm gonna go get some water too. And we'll be back here tomorrow at 8 a.m. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out. Have a great one.